So hello everybody and welcome back to the MBA in Marketing Management and this third session, which is all about the strategic process on this topic of management policy and strategy. So before we continue, have a little think, what do you already know about the process of strategic management? What's involved? What are the important elements that we need to consider? So if you stop the video here just for now and just have a little think and consideration about that question. So what do we know? So strategic management, if we define it, strategic management is defined as the dynamic process of formulation, implementation, evaluation, and control of strategies to realize the organization's strategic intent. So it's continually evolving, it's iterative, a bit like we saw before when we talked about policy making. It's not rigid. Stepwise activities which are arranged in a sequential order, and therefore it's repeated over time as the situation demands. So we can't hold it on to as it being a step-by-step rigid process. We have to take into account that it needs to be repeated many times as the situation changes. So we've got these four elements here which are important to kind of break it down into. So we've got, first of all, establishing a strategic intent, formulating the strategies, then we actually then implement those strategies and evaluate them. So what we're going to do now is just go into each of these four areas in a little bit more depth. So strategic intent can be broken down into creating and communicating the vision, defining the business, designing a mission statement, adopting a business model, and clarifying the business mission, purpose, and setting broad objectives and goals. The second part of the process, where we look at formulation of strategies, that involves conducting a SWOT analysis, so analysing the external environment, internally appraising the organisation, setting corporate objectives, formulating those corporate objectives and then formulating them into corporate strategies, exercising strategic choice and preparing a strategic plan. Then the third part of that is understanding how do we implement them. So if we're going to implement them, we need to activate those strategies. We need to design structure, systems and processes, manage behavioural implementation, manage functional implementation and operationalise the strategies. And then in the last part of the sequence, we need to perform strategic evaluation and control. So we need to exercise strategic control, and as we said earlier, we need to ensure that we reformulate those strategies as and when required. So when we talk about strategic intent, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time here explaining more about that. This is a combination of four levels in management. So it involves vision, mission, business definition, and goals and objectives. So it refers to the purposes of the organisation and what it's striving for. And it lays down or provides a framework within which organisations would operate, adopt some kind of predetermined direction, and attempt to achieve the goals they've set themselves. So Hamel and Prahalad considers strategic intent is an absolute obsession within an organisation. So strategic intention or intent envisages a desired leadership positioning and establishes the criterion the organisation will use for charting its progress. So in addition to ambitions of the organisation, it also includes active management process that includes focusing the organisation's attention on winning. It covers motivating people by communicating the values and the targets. And the intent encourages individual and team contributions and attempts sustaining enthusiasm by providing new operational definitions. So the strategic intent guides the organisation through changing circumstances and guides a use of how they're going to allocate the resources. In terms of defining the business, a clear-cut statement of the business the firm is engaged in or plans to enter is important. So it's an elaboration of the business arena and the boundaries in which it will operate. So for example, questions such as what is our business, what will it be, what should it be, And defining business also involves dimensions such as the customer functions, the customer groups, and alternative technologies. And defining the business sets and limits the contours of the business. So it clarifies the opportunities business can pursue and the areas in which these opportunities are to be looked for. So it clarifies to the firm the various sources from which threats and competition will come from. And defining customer functions and customer groups provides blueprint and a reference point for product market strategy. So mission statement provides the basic inputs for business definition and provides a broad framework. So a little bit more here in detail of some business definitions. So focus as a service organisation rather than vendor of Xerox machines. So we're talking here Modi Xerox. That's what they're saying their focus is. Their customer focus is office communication with high-priced and low-priced equipments, marketing services of maintenance and per copy price. The customer function, what they've defined, is availability of spares, drums, toner, good after-sales service, and technology, collaboration with Rank Xerox. Helen Curtis talks here and defines what her business is. So we are in the beauty enriching business. We will pursue ideas that would generate products enhancing beauty and the youthfulness of men and women. Intel's business definition: we are in the business of computing technology and to consistently develop the building blocks of computing technology for the entire computer industry of the world is our business. So these are some examples here of different organisations, how they define what they do. What do you think are the characteristics of a good business definition? Are they good business definitions? What do you think needs to be in place to make a definition be effective? So attributes of a good business definition are that it should be related to human needs which the product seeks to satisfy and should not be limited to just the product. So it must be related to basic benefits the product offers. It shouldn't be narrow. So a wrong or a narrow concept could reduce the lifespan of the organisation. It should be related or must be related to the functions performed by the product and not limited to just the product. It must encompass in its fold as many functions, benefits as possible. It must go beyond the immediate product, beyond the immediate competitors, beyond the immediate market boundaries, and it must be wide enough to embrace new opportunities. So it must be wide enough to give a vision of latent sources of competition from, say, substitute products. And business boundaries keep changing and defining business is a dynamic situation, and it becomes an exacting exercise and needs to be recasted time and time and time again. So those are some of the attributes there of a very good business definition. So now let's move on and talk a little bit more about strategy formulation. So when we talk about strategy formulation, that encompasses the vision, the mission, and the purpose. So a vision is more dreamt of than it is. So a vision statement is permanent statement of a company, and the vision is its future aspirations that lead to an inspiration. So it defines the very purpose of existence of a company. And the vision of a company is a direction for action for employees. So the essence of a vision is forward-looking of what an organisation wishes to become. Cotter defines vision as a description of an enterprise, an organisation, corporate culture, a business, a technology, an activity in future. El Namaki defines vision as a mental perception of the kind of environment an individual or an organisation aspires to create within a broad time horizon and the underlying conditions for the actualisation of this perception. Miller and Dess defines vision as category of intentions that are broad, all-inclusive and forward-thinking. So there we have some definitions by various academics regarding what is a vision, what does it mean? So what do you think are the characteristics of a vision statement? So just pause the video for a minute and just contemplate that question. So, characteristics of a vision statement: it should be inspiring and exhilarating. So it represents a discontinuity, a step, a jump ahead to dream what it is to be. So it's a creation of a common identity, and it shares a sense of purpose. So competitive, original, and unique and practical. It should foster risk-taking and experimentation, and it should foster long-term thinking. So a vision is a statement about what your organisation wants to become. So it should resonate with all members of the organisation and help them feel proud, excited, and part of something much bigger than themselves. And a vision should stretch the organisation's capabilities and image of itself. So it gives shape and direction to the organisation's future. Visions range in length from a couple of words to several pages. Shorter vision statements are often recommended because people will tend to remember the shorter organisational vision, which kind of makes sense. So on that point, have a little think about what vision statements have you come across. See if you can think of some examples. So in terms of vision statements, here are some examples here. So we've got Westin Hotels. Year after year, Westin and its people will be regarded as the best and most sought after hotel and resort management group in North America. We've got here the HR Association of Greater Detroit, to be recognised and respected as one of the premier associations of HR professionals. We've got Tata Steel. So the vision statement of Tata Steel is that it enters the new millennium with the confidence of learning, knowledge-based, and a happy organisation. We will establish ourselves as a supplier of choice by delighting our customers with our service and products. In the coming decade, we will become the most cost-competitive steel plant and so serve the community and the nation. And then another example here, a vision statement of Fresh Farm Produce. We help the families of Maintown live happier and healthier lives by providing the freshest, tastiest, and most nutritious local produce from local farms to your table in under just 24 hours. So there you've got some examples of vision statements from various organisations, small and large. And so how do we develop these vision statements? So when organisations look at developing this statement, they need to include a vivid description of the organisation as it effectively carries out its operations. So developing a vision statement can be quick culture specific. Therefore, participants, for example, may use methods ranging from highly analytical and rational to highly creative and divergent, e.g. focused discussions, divergent experiences around daydreams, sharing stories, for example, and therefore visit with the participants how they might like to arrive at a description of their organisational vision. And developing the vision can be actually one of the most enjoyable parts of planning, but the part where time easily gets away from you and easily runs away. So note that originally the vision was a compelling description of the state and the function of the organisation once it had implemented the strategic plan, i.e. a very attractive image towards which the organisation was attracted and guided by the strategic plan. However, recently the vision has become much more of a motivational tool, too often include highly idealistic phrasing and activities which the organisation often cannot realistically aspire to. Especially saw that in the example perhaps of the last one with Tata Steel, and very aspirational and very ambitious. So when we talk about strategic vision is more about the roadmap, showing the route a company intends to take in developing and strengthening the business. So it defines the company's destination and provides a rationale for getting there. So it culminates it into a mission statement, and the strategic vision points an organisation in a particular direction. It charts a strategic path to follow for future and moulds the organisation's identity. So strategic vision is different from the mission statement. It deals with where we are going, whereas the mission statement deals with the company's present business scope and purpose. So a company mission is guided by the buyer's needs it seeks to satisfy, the customer groups and the market segments that it's endeavouring to serve. and the resources and technologies that it is deploying in trying to please customers and achieve a market and industry position. So here's some examples of a strategic vision. So a little bit shorter than the last ones we looked at. So the San Antonio Express News developed this strategic vision: expand our customer base and enhance the franchise by pursuing multimedia opportunities. Oh, actually, it's a very long description. It's actually longer than the last ones we looked at, so it's really broken it down into different areas. So it's used language such as deliver an award-winning level of journalistic excellence, build public interest, trust and pride. Another action word here: provide vigorous community leadership and support. Instill an environment of internal and external excellence in customer service. Empower and recognise each employee's unique contribution. Achieve the highest standards of excellence, or quality rather, and improve financial strength and profitability. So yeah, quite aspirational in terms of their strategic vision. So we've discussed then strategic vision. So what do we understand by mission? What's the difference? What is a mission then? Have a think about it. How does that differ from what we've looked at so far? So various definitions here of mission. Mission is the essential purpose of the organisation, concerning particularly why it is in existence, the nature of businesses that it is in, and the customers it seeks to serve and satisfy. Hunger and Whelan say that mission is the purpose and reason for the organisation's existence. And mission statements could be formulated on the basis of vision that an entrepreneur decides on in the initial stages. So a business mission helps to evolve and execute an executive action. The mission of the organisation is what it is and why it exists. So it represents common purpose, which the entire organisation shares and pursues. It's a bit like a guiding principle. So the mission statement, the mission of a company is expressed in terms of products and geographical scope. So this will include a methodology of attaining the desired goal in vision, and it defines the competitive strength of a company and emanates from the corporate vision and strategic posture of a company. So therefore, the mission of a business is a statement, a build-up philosophy of its current and future expected position in terms of its products and its market leadership. A mission is a statement which defines the role of organisation and what the role of organisation plays in society. So the corporate mission is growth ambition of the firm. So let's now have a think about this. What are the characteristics then of a mission statement? So a mission statement should be feasible and it should be precise. It should be clear and distinctive. It should be motivating. It should be indicative of major component of strategy. It should indicate how the objectives are to be accomplished. So that's a little bit more simple compared to the other ones. So how do we go about creating a mission statement? What do you think? This is what the characteristics are, but how are we going to go about making that happen? So in terms of creating it, you need to first identify your organisation or the organisation's winning idea. So this is the idea or approach that will make this organisation stand out from its competitors and is the reason that customers will come to you and not your competitors. So once we've done that, we then need to identify the key measures of success and make sure we choose the most important measures and not too many of them. We then need to combine the winning idea and success measures into a tangible and measurable goal and refine the words until we have a concise and precise statement of the mission which expresses ideas, measures and desired result. So when we're developing a mission statement, at its most basic, the mission statement describes the overall purpose of the organisation. So if the organisation elects to develop a mission statement before developing if it elects to develop a vision statement before developing the mission statement, ask, why does the image, the vision exist? What is its purpose? This purpose is actually often the same as the mission. So developing a mission statement can be quick culture specific, i.e. people may use methods ranging from highly analytical and rational to highly creative and divergent, focused discussions, divergent experiences around daydreams and stories. Therefore, visit with the participants how they might like to arrive at a description of their organisational mission. And when wording the mission statement, consider the organisation's products, services, markets, values and concerns for public image, and maybe the priorities of these activities for survival. And in terms of mission statements, we've got a few here, so a few examples. We've got FedEx, for example. So FedEx says that it's committed to its people, service, profit philosophy, and defines its mission as being that we will produce outstanding financial returns by providing totally reliable, competitively superior global air-ground transportation of high priority goods and documents that require rapid, time-certain delivery. Saturn's mission is to earn the loyalty of Saturn owners and grow our family by developing and marketing US manufactured vehicles that are world leaders in quality, cost and customer enthusiasm through the integration of people, technology and business systems. Westin Hotels and Resorts, well, we looked at earlier. So in order to realise our vision, our mission must be to exceed the expectations of our customers, whom we define as guests, partners and fellow employees. That's the mission. We will accomplish this by committing to our shared values and by achieving the highest levels of customer satisfaction with extraordinary emphasis on the creation of value. That's the strategy. In this way, we will ensure that our profit, quality and growth goals are met. So that one incorporates the vision, the mission and the values, the shared values it makes reference to, and the strategy. So when we talk about values, which is just mentioned there, how would you define what values are? What do values refer to? So before going on in the video, just pause it for a minute and just think about what does a value mean to you? So when we talk about values, we talk about traits or qualities that are considered worthwhile. So they represent an individual's highest priorities and deeply held driving forces. So we often hear about the word core values and governing values, and those kind of things, they really refer to the same sentiment. So value statements are grounded in values and define how people want to behave with each other in the organisation. So they are statements about how the organisation will value customers, suppliers and the internal community. And value statements describe actions which are the living enactment of the fundamental values held by most individuals within the organisation. So the values of each of the individuals in your workplace, along with their experience, their upbringing and so on, hold together to form your corporate culture. So the values of your senior leaders are especially important in the development of your culture. These leaders have a lot of power in your organisation to set the course and environment, and they have selected the staff for your workplace. So if you think about your own life, your values form the cornerstones for all you do and accomplish. They define where you spend your time and if you are truly living according to your values. So each of you makes choices in life according to your most important 4 to 10 values. And it's necessary to take the time to identify what is most important to you and to your organisation. So that's what values mean and what they're about. So therefore, how do we then develop a value statement? So values represent the core priorities in the organisation's culture, including what drives members' priorities and how they truly act in the organisation. And values are increasingly important in strategic planning because they often drive the intent and the direction for organic planners. So how do you develop a value statement? So developing value statements can be quick, culture specific, as we've seen before with the other examples. They can be analytical and rational, creative and divergent in different ways that we do that with storytelling, using daydreams. And they also visit with the people in the organisation to arrive at a description of their organisational values. So establish 4 to 6 core values from which the organisation would like to operate. And then consider the values not only of the organisation, but its customers, shareholders, employees, and the wider community. And then when we're developing the value statement, notice any difference between the organisation's preferred values and its true values. So the values actually reflected by members' behaviours in the organisation. So remember, each preferred value on a flashcard, record each of these preferred values on a flashcard, then have each member rank the values with 1, 2, or 3 in terms of the priority needed by the organisation, with 3 indicating the value is very important to the organisation and 1 as least important. Then go through the cards again to rank how people think the values are actually being enacted in the organisation, with 3 indicating the values are fully enacted and 1 indicating the value is hardly reflected at all. Then what we need to do is identify or address discrepancies between a value that is highly preferred, i.e. ranked with a 3, but hardly enacted, rank with a 1. And then we can incorporate that into the strategic plan and the actions to align actual behaviours with preferred behaviours. So really seeing where there's a gap between what is addressed and highly preferred, but what actually is enacted, and there could be a little bit of a gap analysis. So talking about the value statement, here are some samples of values and value statements. So Merck talks about how actually its values, quite simply, to preserve and improve human life. So it goes into more detail about how it does that. So it says at Merck, corporate conduct is inseparable from the conduct of individual employees in the performance of their work. Every Merck employee is responsible for adhering to business practices that are in accordance with the letter and spirit of the applicable laws and with ethical principles that reflect the highest standards of corporate and individual behaviour. It goes on to say, at Merck, we are committed to the highest standards of ethics and integrity. We are responsible to our customers, to Merck employees and their families, to the environments that we inhabit, and to the societies that we serve worldwide. In discharging our responsibilities, we do not take professional or ethical shortcuts. Our interactions with all segments of society must reflect the high standards that we profess. So that's an example of Merck. A couple more examples here. Patriot Ledger, or southofboston.com. We have a total commitment to these values, shaping the way we do business for our employees, our customers, and our company. Our employees are the most valued assets of our company, essential participants with a shared responsibility in fulfilling our mission. We recognise that the quality, motivation, and performance of our employees are the key factors in achieving our success. So, moving on from looking at the visions and the values and the mission statements, here we've got now what we're going to be talking about is breaking it down into goals and action plans. So once we've developed the key strategies, we then need to turn our attention to developing several goals which will enable us to accomplish each of these strategies. You may have come across the acronym SMART. So SMART means that these goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely or time-based. And once we've enabled strategy accomplishment through setting these SMART goals, we will then want to develop action plans to accomplish each goal. So we need to follow an action plan, which involves establishing a cross-section of professionals as a committee and meet to plan the sessions, determining how much money there is, so determining the budget, selecting topics based on the needs assessment of the members, planning advertising strategies, etc., and then making action plans as detailed as we need them to be and integrate the individual steps into our planning system. So an effective planning system, whether it uses a personal computer, a paper and pen system, a handheld computer or a Palm, will keep our goals and action plans on track and on target. So let's just review and we'll just recap and think again. What are the objectives then when we're talking about business and business policy? So business policy needs to make sure that the objectives include understanding various concepts like strategy, policies, plans and programs. Another objective is to have the knowledge of internal and external environment and how it affects the functioning of the organisation. The application of generalised approaches to deal with a wide variety of situations, and developing the analytical ability to understand the situation. So identifying factors relevant to decision making, analysing strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, as in a SWOT analysis, to the organisation, and developing an attitude of generalist and assessing a situation from all angles. So what do you think? Once you've done this and really clear on what your business policy objectives are, what are the benefits of that? So what are the benefits? The benefits of business policy is that it seeks to integrate the knowledge and experience gained in various multifunctional areas of management. So normally functional areas are a little bit separate and a little bit distant from the complexities of real life business situations. So business policy cuts across these narrow functional boundaries and helps us to create an understanding of how policies are formulated. Managers become more receptive to the ideas and suggestions of senior management, and managers feel themselves to be part of a greater design. And understanding business policy provides a basic framework for understanding strategic decision making and improvement in job performance. The study of business policy leads to personal development, and managers understand the impact of policy shifts on the status of one's department and on the position one occupies. Understanding business policy enables managers to avail the opportunity or avoid a risk to career planning and development, and the benefit is it helps to understand senior management's viewpoint. Okay, so in this module, or in this session today, we've covered the key elements in the strategic management process. We've kind of done a deep dive to understand more about vision, values, mission, and how to create the statements around that. And we will then be going into more detail on some of these areas in the following modules. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the subsequent module shortly.